there are things that aren't in there that people, their hearts are breaking. Our hearts are breaking. All the women here, all the families, paid leave is not in the framework that the president laid out. And it's breaking our hearts, and we hope maybe something changes.
Good evening, black people and all allies fighting for black liberation, black prosperity, and black joy. I'm Charles Blow, and welcome to Prime. After a whirlwind of a day and what felt like a bit of a frenzy to get something done before the president headed to two major summits overseas, President Biden revealed this afternoon a $1.75 trillion blueprint for his signature climate and social spending package. The price tag is much smaller than many progressives wanted, so it received a tepid, if not chilly, response. Here's how the president defended it earlier today.
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is. That's consensus. And that's what I ran on. I know it's hard. I know how deeply people feel about the things that they fight for. But this framework includes historic investments in our nation and in our people.
So let's take a look at what's in this. The majority of the spending, $555 billion, will go to clean energy and climate investments. $400 billion will go to affordable child care and universal pre-K. $200 billion is for a one-year extension of the child tax credit. $150 billion is for affordable housing, and $130 billion will go towards lowering premiums for the Affordable Care Act and closing the Medicaid coverage gap. Here's what's not in it. Free community college, paid family leave, prescription drug pricing reform, expanded Medicare for dental and vision, and a billionaire's tax. Progressives like caucus chair Pramila Jayapal confirmed today they still won't vote on infrastructure until there's a vote on reconciliation. And even though this whole thing was basically designed to get holdouts like Sinema and Manchin on board, they haven't explicitly said that they are. Bishop William Barber tweeted this warning: Dems, be careful. If you give Manchin and Sinema infrastructure without having them vote for Build Back Better, they will not keep their promise. They have done nothing to be trusted. Really, there should be a threefold agreement. You get your infrastructure if you support Build Back Better, Voting Rights Act, and For the People Act. Joining me now to discuss is President of Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, Bishop William Barber, and President of People for the American Way and the former CEO and President of the NAACP, Ben Jealous. So, Reverend Barber, you don't trust these moderates. Tell us more about that.
And you don't either, and Ben doesn't either. And anybody that's been born since yesterday shouldn't trust them either, not in politics. First of all, everything that's in the bill that is good, we fought for it. You know, Manchin said he was going to shut it down. We went to his state, we went to Arizona, we went in the streets by the thousands, got arrested, got people called in, and they're only there because he fought for it. He thought he was just going to slip through the infrastructure bill. But I'm concerned about what's not in the bill. You know, some people call it a transformative bill. Now, I work with 140 million poor and low-wealth people around this country of every race, creed, and color, so I can't get but so happy. It is transformative because in some ways we've done so little in these areas. The problem is it's not transcendent. It doesn't really finally address the issue of 700 people per day dying from poverty, not just from COVID. And when you look at what's left out, we have to be concerned. Yes, we're glad about what's in, but when paid leave in a time of a pandemic, it is not in there. When $400 billion, the $400 billion that was supposed to help home healthcare workers, essential workers, was cut down to $150 billion. When you say to folk, we'll let you hear, but we're not going to give you any teeth and we're not going to help you see. That's not in there. When the child tax credit only goes to 2023 and may be extended and may not be. Free community colleges out, as you said. And there was no real work on billionaires and corporations. And we have to talk about the several million jobs that were cut when you cut it down to 1.75. And the problem, lastly, Charles, is also there's no commitment to pass the VRAA or the Freedom to Vote Act or to end the filibuster, because the debate didn't start with needs and values. It started with the lie about scarcity, and we let Manchin and them win that lie, the Republicans. So it's transformative in some senses, but it's not transcendent in the sense that we could have done more, including $15 living wage, which is why we must take part of this, but never stop fighting. That's why I'm glad Ben Jealous and his body is still saying, we got to fight. We got to hold on. We can't stop now. You know, you take this, but you keep moving.
Ben, I want to get your perspective on what was finally in the bill and what was left out of it.
Well, first of all, I mean, I associate with all the comments of Bishop Billy Barber. I know you are a bishop now. Congratulations on the promotion, Reverend. That's awesome and well deserved. Now, I'm proud of the progressives who have stood up and stood firm. Manchin and Sinema, and especially Sinema, have shown themselves not to be trusted. And it's also critical. And we look right now at the Virginia election where we're struggling right now. And the reality is, big part of it is that we're not doing enough for working people. And so we have to be concerned about not so much the donor class as the voter class, and not just the class of folks who vote all the time, but the folks who would vote if we gave them reason to vote. And that's what's so important. This isn't just good policy. This is good politics. We have to take care of the people of this country. We have to give them reason to have faith that their children will be able to move up and enjoy a life better than their own. That's what the American dream is about. Build Back Better is really about restoring the American dream for the American people.
Bishop Barber, let me ask you about the breakdown of the kind of percentages of what's actually in the bill. The majority of that money right now, or the biggest chunk of it anyway, goes to environmental issues, building clean energy economy. And that's really, really, really important. I mean, the planet is heating up, and poor people are going to feel that before anybody else feels it. But what do you feel about the breakdown of how money was allocated in this bill?
Well, one thing. First of all, we're still analyzing it and disaggregating the numbers, not only the breakdown in terms of the programs, but what that breakdown really means and what it could have been if it was 3.7 trillion, which 3.7 trillion or 3.5 trillion would have been 6.5 trillion less than the Economic Policy Institute said we needed to fully recover from the pandemic and to meet the challenge that existed prior to the pandemic. So we're doing that analysis. But then, Charles, there's another analysis we need to do. How does this bill really impact Black people? How does it impact brown people? How does it impact rural communities? We're doing that right now. We've got our people studying. And then how does it impact poor and low wealth people? Because that's who is cut out now. And we're hoping in the next tomorrow to have more analysis around this. But I want to say something that Ben just said, and he's a strategist. 40% in these states, battleground states like Virginia, 40% of the electorate, the possible voting, are poor and low wealth people. And what I'm hearing from them, white, Black, and otherwise, is this should have been easy. This should have been an easy thing to do. The 3.5 trillion should have been easy. We spent $21 trillion in war, militarization of our borders and so forth since 9/11. But we had to go through all of this just to get half of the compromise. And what they're saying is that's bothersome because you're acting as though the 40% of the electorate in battleground states like Virginia that are poor and or low wealth really are expendable and not essential. And so I am concerned about the breakdown, and we're doing a deeper analysis right now of what that actually means and what was lost when it was cut even more. And lastly, we don't know if this is the deal because they haven't said they were going to vote for this. You can't trust that. You know, just like we better not sign this and don't have some agreement on the filibuster, because as Sheila Jackson Lee said today, we could be told to wait again. You know, we've been told to wait. Now we could be told to wait again. And then after a while, Sinema just go home because they would have gotten everything that their donor class wants, which is that infrastructure money for those bridges and those electrical grids that their friends will be the contractors that will get the biggest part of bulk of that money.
Ben, let's talk a little bit about that and how the money kind of fiddles out into actual people's pockets. Only portion of this will be direct spending by the federal government. Other parts of it have to be given out to states so that they can dole it out to people in their states to do the work that the bill calls for. Are you at all worried that there are not enough safeguards around this money to make sure that it goes to where it needs to go and does not become a big pot of play money that people can pass out to people that they know or who have been donors or whatever?
You know, one of the reasons I'm so grateful that Joe Biden is in the White House and that we are rebuilding the U.S. Department of Justice is that the level of corruption under during Donald Trump was so off the chain. We finally have a chance now to reel that back in. So even before you get to the fact that, yes, there needs to be more accountability, and yes, we need more inspectors, including, frankly, more labor inspectors, to make sure that the workers who do this work actually get paid and get paid the wages that they're supposed to get paid, which is a huge scam and problem with a lot of, frankly, federal subcontractors who short workers in states that are not enforcing that people get paid what they're supposed to get paid and that they even get paid at all. There's a certain level of corruption that was allowed to go unchallenged by the U.S. Department of Justice and other federal enforcement arms during the Trump years. And I'm glad that Joe Biden's in office because of that. He is rebuilding DOJ. He is rebuilding the enforcement powers of the federal government when it comes to making sure that we deal with waste, fraud, and abuse. But yeah, absolutely. There's always a concern about transparency. And with Republicans controlling 2/3 of the states, quite honestly, their track record on making sure that workers get paid what they're supposed to be paid, for example, is very, very poor. Most of those governors have gutted the labor inspectors in their states, and it's working families that get screwed as a result.